Thank you for joining us today. We're here to continue the discussion and presentation of Exasol's innovation journey with you. And today we've got some really exciting updates and developments to share with you as part of that journey with the a preview to the soon to be released Exasol 26.1. This is just for those who perhaps weren't on the previous webinar. This is part of Exasol's biannual release of software. And I think it's really important maybe just to pause and just to look back very briefly at 2025, which was a huge milestone, very exciting milestone for Exasol, where we've enhanced or progressed massively around enhancing performance, customer experience, AI, and the ecosystem connectivity of Exasol. And we want to continue that with some super exciting updates that the team is going to bring to you and try and illustrate with you today. Just a few bits of housekeeping. We've got a very packed agenda, conscious of your time. We are, though, as ever, really keen to hear your views, your feedbacks, your questions. So please, as you're going through and listening to the team presenting to you today, if you've got any points of clarity that you're looking for or any points you want to make, please drop us a note in the chat within the app here. What we do is respond to those on email and also in the community forum as well. As I say, very keen to learn from you and learn with you on this. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Florian, who's our VP of Product Management, to help bring to life our innovation journey and help you get a closer look at Exasol 26.1. So Florian, over to you.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Ian, for the introduction. Also, very excited to be here today to talk about our new release. But before we start with 26.1 and what's coming up in this year, I want to share a little bit about the innovation that we already delivered last year, which was an amazing step forward, as Ian already introduced. A few pillars I want to highlight. The first one is surely performance. We are the performance leader, and we try our best to blow the competition out of the water. And we still manage year by year to increase our performance. So we've got 8 times faster compile time. We improved parquet loading immensely, and that also shows in benchmarks. So it's really great to see that we beat DuckDB, which is the leader on a single node, by factor 4, and ClickHouse, especially when it comes to complex queries, by a factor 200. So this is really amazing and showcases our core capabilities of being a high-performance analytical engine. We also invested heavily in customer experience, and we introduced Exasol Personal. And Jürgen is going to talk a little bit more about this later on, but this is a very good step forward in giving developers the capabilities to spin up sandbox environments, create use cases on their own machines, or in this case in the cloud, and then translating this to a wider enterprise cluster. We also introduced admin UI for easy operations, and customer experience is going to be a large focus also going forward. In the field of AI, I mean, there have so many improvements going on, and the field is developing so fast. So we introduced text AI, and we see a lot of interesting use cases popping up this year where this can be a real game changer for organizations. We released the MCP server, and we're constantly improving that one. And we introduced GPU support for UDFs, which is a great accelerator for AI use cases. Last but not least, we also worked heavily on ecosystem integration with virtual schemas for Databricks and Snowflake. But we also introduced our Lakehouse Turbo capability, and Marco is going to deep dive into this in a bit, which lets you tap into Databricks Lakehouses on AWS, so really exciting. we introduced or we extended SQL with an Exasol dialect that enables you to transpile from 30 plus other dialects into Exasol, giving you a faster time to migration and play around with coming from different databases. And we added integrations into MLflow and others. So this was just 2025. Really excited about that. Now let's have a look at 2026. So 2026 is going to be the foundation for Exasol being the AI innovation platform. And because we think the future belongs to those that bring AI to the data, right? So it has always been our mantra to bring code to the data. And so it's just naturally that you bring high performance and high compute intensive AI use cases also to your data. And the way we look at the product now is from a developer's journey, right? So from deploying the product as a fast environment for exploration to loading your own data sets, exploring the data, of course, ideally with conversational AI, enriching data with transformations in AI workloads, and then surfacing data either through traditional dashboards, but I think state of the art is now just building your own apps on top of your data source. And this is a very interesting journey. And in order to showcase the new features that we're bringing with 26.1, we introduce Clara as the hero of our journey, and I'm handing over to Jürgen to deep dive.
Yes, thank you, Florian. Yeah, you might wonder who is this lady Clara. That's her in the top right corner of the screen, holding this little green laptop. And she's a data engineer in a large manufacturing company. And she was just tasked by her boss to identify root causes for supply chain delay issues they've been having, like parts arriving too late is sometimes not at all, which kind of made it difficult for this manufacturing company to deliver their products, to assemble them in times. And so the customer satisfaction took a deep dive and it actually impacted revenue. So that's really something they need to look into and fix it. So lucky for the company, Clara is very smart and she knows that the answer to these issues, the kind of root cause, sits in 6 years worth of Parquet files in S3. So they have a lot of data that she just quote unquote needs to go through in order to find the answer. But being experienced as she is, she also knows that the current stack that they're running is not really up to the task. It's just simply too much data. And then she says, oh, hold on. Recently, I read something about Exasol. And Exasol, as we all know that I hear, is really powerful at analyzing such large amounts of data. And yeah, Exasol would really be up to the task. But before she kind of proposes Exasol to her boss and she kind of really makes a decision to use it in a production, she kind of wants to try it out first. And she's a bit worried, oh, there might be like license cost and is it going to be complicated? But lucky for her, we have something for her, which is called Exasol Personal. And Florian already alluded to it. So Exasol Personal is, as the name implies, a personal edition of Exasol. Other than other personal variants or flavors of databases out there, it's actually fully functional. So we have like no feature gating. Everything is available. This whole SQL dialect, of course, UDFs, and all the other good stuff that Florian talked about. And also, other than other personal databases out there, you can really store unlimited amounts of data. So there's no cap. You can store terabytes upon terabytes as much as you want. And in order to be able to process this unlimited amount of data, you can also run it on unlimited nodes. As you probably know, Exasol is very great at massive parallel processing. And we also want to make this available for these personal use cases. Where does it run on? It runs on a large or a fair amount of hyperscalers. So you bring your own cloud account. Currently, we support AWS, Azure, and Exascale, but we're also going to support Stackit soon. So we're also supporting really this sovereign European cloud providers. And very soon, that's so hot off the press that it didn't make on the slide, we're also going to support your local laptop that you can install it locally on your machine. that is coming soon. And maybe even more interesting, you can actually expand Exasol Personal to run on any other cloud platform. So be it, is it GCP or one of the European hyperscaler that we don't support yet, or maybe you're any kind of private cloud that you run internally. So we're using Terraform here that you can easily extend to get Exasol Personal running on your own machine. And last but not least, and I think that's the most exciting part, it's completely free for single user usage. So somebody like Clara who does a prototype or maybe even a commercial and production ready solution, but just for herself, just in the single user concept, for them, this is 100% free. So Clara thinks this is amazing. This is something I really want to try it out, but yeah, Exasol Personal sounds really powerful, so might be really difficult to install. But lucky for her, we have this one-line command that you just have to paste into your terminal, and then it kind of kicks off the installation. So let's look at it, how it works. So what this one-line installer does, it actually downloads a single binary, just a single executable that we call the Exasol launcher. Let's trigger it, and let's see what kind of the documentation is here. Let's run help. And then we create a deployment directory and we expose our AWS credentials. And then we just run Exasol AWS install. And what it does, it creates Terraform files and then executes these Terraform files against AWS to provision the infrastructure, like a virtual machine, storage, and so on. And on this infrastructure, it installs Exasol personally. And these Terraform files are also the ones you can extend for your own cloud provider, or if our default Terraform files don't really suit your needs, you can also edit them and extend them. So once the installation has gone through, you will see that there's a bit of an info how you can connect, like the server name, the port, the username. Also, it tells you where to find the password, which is obviously hidden away. So that was really quick. Usually this takes about 10 minutes. I sped it up a little bit for this video. So, but with just a few commands, you're ready to go basically to connect to the database. And Clara fires up Visual Studio Code, which is her preferred tool to kind of explore and work with the databases. And lucky for her, there's a officially supported extension for Visual Studio Code for Exasol. And she just kind of configures it with the data. She just copy pasted from that screen that you just saw. Test the connection, seems to be up and running. She writes a very simple query. Switches to the Exasol mode in VS Code, and then executes the query, and it should come back with a result. So yeah, with a few commands, within a few minutes, Exasol Personal is up and running in a totally unlimited fashion for personal use. So what are kind of the use cases for Exasol Personal? So one thing you already saw, one use case you saw, it's kind of data heavy proof of concepts. So stuff where you say, oh, my local stack doesn't cut it. I want something more powerful, and I'm just going to use Exasol to try it out. And then Madeline is going to show you you can do experimentation for data science and AI really at scale. So as Florian was saying, we're bringing the data really close to the AI here, and Exasol Personal makes it really easy. And for example, if you maybe an implementation partner or you're a customer actually doing the Exasol implementation using Exasol in your stack, then you can give each and every developer actually their own Exasol Personal instance. And they don't have to kind of wait for anybody else to provision it. They are completely independent and have their kind of end-to-end stack fully under their control. That is from my side, and I'm going to hand over to Nico, I think.
Thank you, Jürgen. So let me take over. Okay, so thanks to Exasol Personal, Claire now has her database. It's running in AWS, and everything is ready to go. And since she works in a large industry, all of her data that she needs are actually in Parquet files, and they're all in an S3 bucket. So she needs to load all of these Parquet files into her new database that she created, and she needs some simple way to do it without having to configure a bunch of extra tools. And so we can support her on this journey. So a big focus in 2025 in the past was also allowing a very fast Parquet loader, so you could load Parquet files in a very, very quick, but it was only working on AWS S3. What we've done in 2026 is we've expanded where you can actually load Parquet files. So in 26.1, we're going to also support S3 compatible storages, Azure Blob Storage, HTTPS, and SFTP servers, as well as local files, as I'm sure all of you are familiar with loading from a local CSV file. The same kind of behavior now works for Parquet. And we've also added an additional open table format. So previously we only supported Delta Lake. Now in 26.1, we're expanding this even further with Iceberg table formats, and Marco will talk a lot more about that later. And we've added some functionality to make loading those Parquet files into Exasol even easier. Specifically, we've added a schema inference functionality, glob pattern support, and a better data type mapping. And I want to take a little bit more time and talk about these two features for ease of use, specifically the schema inference and glob pattern support. So what is schema inference? Well, a big problem that we had in the past is when you created your table or loaded the data, you had to specify all the columns. Schema inference makes it easier for you so that actually the columns needed for your import statement are inferred directly from the Parquet file. So you could create your table as an import statement without ever needing to specify what are the columns in this file. And you could even do it without loading any data. As far as glob pattern support goes, we've introduced glob pattern matching for S3 and S3 compatible storages, which means you can tell the database to import a lot of files at one time without actually needing to specify the names of those files. So in the import statement that you see here, we're telling the database to search recursively through all of the folders in the bucket for any Parquet file. And you can use other glob pattern matching to get the specific file that you need to import. So to show the value that these two features bring, we've also created a little demo, and I'm going to show you what it looked like in version 25.2 when you needed to load Parquet files, and how much easier it is now in version 26.1. So let me start this. So previously, when you needed to load data from a Parquet file, the first question that you needed to answer was, well, what columns are actually in my file? So to answer that question, I created a little UDF here, which will give me the details from that Parquet file. So our file has 10 columns. Most of them are string columns, and we have 2 integers at the beginning and the end. So with this data now, I can actually write my create table statement. So we have a shipments table, and I'm going to add 2 columns to it as well, this source file and row number, so that we can see where all the data is actually coming from. All right, so let's create this table, and then we can do a brief test import to make sure that it actually works. So we'll import the data from this Parquet file, and we see 100,000 rows imported in less than half a second. So that's great. And when we observe the file, we can also see that all 100,000 rows came from one file, which is exactly what we were expecting. Now, as you know, Clara doesn't have just one Parquet file, right? She has multiple Parquet files spread over multiple directories and folders within her bucket. So the next step that she needs to do is actually figure out where are all the files I have. So here's another UDF that she's prepared. And we can see there are 4 file names that she needs to import, and they're spread over different directories. So one is based on EMEA, one is America, and also separated into type of port. And we have our 4 files. So we need to import, so we can take this information now and build our import statement. So we have 4 files specified. We'll import this data at one time in parallel. So 400,000 rows now, and we can see when we select it that it was all split evenly. So we needed here about 8 SQL statements in order to load the data that Clara needs into her file. In 26.1, we've simplified all that effort here into one statement. So create table shipments as input from Parquet, using our glob pattern matching to get all the Parquet files, and we can load it just very much more easier than ever before. And we see we still have our 4 files, 400,000 rows total for the table. So combining the glob pattern support as well as this schema inference makes it much easier compared to 25-to-1 and ever easier than ever before to load data from Parquet. And with that, I will hand it over to Marco.
Thank you, Nico. Yeah, it was amazing to see how Clara loaded the supply chain data with the fast Parquet bulk loader within Exasol Personal. But now she wants to do the next step. She wants to analyze also the sales data and see whether the supply chain problems have an effect on sales. And her sales data lives on a data mart within Databricks. And the next problem is that the sales data, or the next challenge is that the next sales data is updated daily. So she needs a tool that regularly taps into that data mart on Databricks, on the Data Lakehouse. And luckily, we got something for her. And we call it Lakehouse Turbo. It's our plug-in query engine for a Data Lakehouse ecosystem. And how it works is that you build your Data Lakehouse with, for example, Databricks and Delta Lake on S3 storage. And then usually you send your front-end layer for data science, BI, or AI agents through a query engine, for example, in this case, by Databricks through Databricks Photon or Spark. But instead of going through, for example, Photon, you can plug in Lakehouse Turbo and connect your front-end layer with Lakehouse Turbo. And the prime use cases we see for this is to ingest and analyze Lakehouse data in Exasol and to also accelerate hot pass queries. Because the big advantage of Exasol is that we offer best-in-class price to performance, and we can show that we have up to 14 times more throughput. So let's quickly explore how it will look like for Clara. So the first thing she does is she explores the sales data mart within Databricks, the typical Databricks front end. She identified the typical data mart here, sales dimension, product dimension, sales position, fact table. And she just goes into the Lakehouse Turbo front end we now have within our Exasol SaaS UI or also in the admin UI. And she just selects the catalog and the schemas she wants to see, selects the tables, hit save, and Exasol will transparently mirror and replicate that data into the Exasol cluster so she can do the analysis within the Exasol. And then she can move to her favorite editor. For example, here it's, again, Visual Studio Code to do her next analysis. In this case, it's a typical analytical query against a data mart. Yeah, and to summarize this, before I show you the features, a quick outlook onto our roadmap, what we are releasing with the next release of Exasol 26.1. Last year, we opened this up on Exasol SaaS for Amazon S3 storage, Databricks, Delta Lake table formats, and Unity data catalogs. And the next release of Exasol brings this to as app deployments, Exasol Personal, Exasol on-premises, or in your own tenant on AWS. We are adding support for Iceberg catalogs and the Apache Iceberg open table format, as well as S3 compatible on-premise storage, so you can tap into your on-premise data lakehouse with Exasol now. And as said, we see two main use cases for this. The first one is to ingest and analyze lakehouse data. And the second one is to accelerate hot pass queries. So if you have front-end reports that run too slow on existing query engines, for example, Databricks Photon, you can accelerate it with Exasol. And on the right side, you see the features it brings. We have support for change data capture. This means if there are new rows, updated rows, or deleted rows, Lakehouse Turbo will detect them and automatically update the mirrored data. We have support for partition tables, support for schema evolution, for example, for added columns or dropped columns. We have support for view replication, so you can also select views, and then the views and all their dependencies are also recursively mirrored. The files are ingested in parallel, leveraging the fast Parquet bulk loader Nico just showed. And we also have support for condition filters. So for example, if you have a a large fact table that you want to filter on only the last 2 relevant years, you can do that with our condition filter feature, which is a little bit like a where statement. Yeah, and this was it for Lakehouse Turbo, and I'm handing over to Madeline.
Excellent. So we've been following along with Clara's journey so far. And remember, Clara is our hero analyst here. She's been tasked with understanding what's going on with her business data, in this case, supply chain data. And she's already made a ton of progress. She used Exasol Personal to quickly spin up a database and then easily loaded data from various different sources, Parquet data connected to her Lakehouse. So she's ingested her supply chain data and her sales data from various different sources. And this is where you want to be as an analyst. You have all of your data in one place, you're ready to go. Now she's ready to dig in and do some rapid ad hoc analytics. So she wants to understand what's available in her data, start looking at patterns and trends, and answer some of those key business questions. What's happening? What's impacting her supply chain? What's the impact on her bottom line? What's causing all of that? Now, this is sometimes where analysis can get a little bogged down because there's so much data to work through. And so the thing that Clara needs is a way to get in and start getting answers really quickly. And luckily, Exasol has something for her. So Clara's going to use Exasol's MCP server. Now, what is an MCP server? You may all be familiar with and a little overloaded with MCP terminology and AI terminology, but if you're new to this, let's do a quick walkthrough. So an MCP server allows a platform or application to talk to AI and vice versa. In this case, it allows your AI to talk to your Exasol database. It tells the AI what data it can access, how to interact with and engage with that data, effectively allowing you to have conversational analytics with your Exasol database. Now, because this is Exasol, when we created this MCP server to allow for conversational analytics with AI, we made sure to build in governed access as well as flexible deployment. So your data is always secure, you can integrate with all of your enterprise authentication patterns, and you can deploy this MCP server anywhere where you've deployed your Exasol database. So in this case, if Clara's working in Exasol Personal and AWS, it's incredibly easy for her to set up the MCP server and use it. Now, the beauty of the Exasol MCP server, like we've talked about, is it allows Clara to dig in and start doing some real-time analytics on top of her data. Now, she's going to use her preferred AI tool, and today she's decided to use Claude, but with the Exasol MCP server, it's bring any and all AI. So you can use this with your ChatGPTs, your Geminis, and of course, any open source solutions you have as well. So that AI front end is completely customizable depending on your business. So Clara has her MCP server set up. She's ready to go, and she's going to start by understanding her data. So she asks the AI, help me understand the supply chain data that I have in my Exasol database. And her first question is, the average delay over time, has it been changing? Now we're going to watch the AI in real time go in and start to investigate the data that it has access to. You can see that it's already engaging with the data in our Exasol database. We can see that sales data, which is coming from our Lakehouse. We can see the shipment data, which is coming from the Parquet files. And we can see how quickly Clara is able to work with the AI and get an answer to her question. So she asked, has the delay been changing over time? And with the information in her Exasol database, the AI is quickly able to uncover that yes, the delay has been getting worse, and on top of that, there is a specific supplier that's driving that delay. So this is an incredibly important piece of information, and you can see how quickly Clara was able to get to this insight just using her Exasol database, along with her MCP server and her preferred AI tool. So as an analyst, we love this. This gets you to insights faster, but this is really just the beginning. We've just started to uncover what's actually going on in the supply chain, in the underlying business. And we want to dig in a little bit deeper. And what I love and what Clara loves, what we all love about being able to use AI with our data is we can go in sort of this organic flow as we explore our data. So we have this one insight. We know that one particular supplier is driving some of these problems. But let's say we want to understand this more deeply. And now we want to understand the revenue impact of these supply chain delays. Now we're challenging the AI a little bit because we're pulling together two data sources. We're looking at both revenue as well as supply chain. What you're going to see as we expand the queries here is that the AI was able to write more complex queries to combine data from multiple different sources. It's actually writing joins for us. So now we can join the supply chain data with the sales and revenue data, and we can actually see the bottom line impact. The updated dashboard on the right tells us that we actually have a significant revenue risk because of the supply chain problem that we have. So again, we see Clara using her Exasol database along with the MCP server and AI to dig into not just the surface level problem, but the underlying impacts of that problem. Now, I've been an analyst for a while, and our hero story here, Clara's an analyst. There are tons of tools out there, and using Exasol with the MCP server and an AI is just one of them. But we find that it gets you faster to those insights. You can always complement this by building out a dashboard and using your preferred analytics tools. But when you're trying to get in quickly and understand what's truly going on, and when you want to have that back and forth conversation with your data, using Exasol with the MCP server is a fantastic tool. So we've already learned a ton. We know that yes, there's a significant problem with our supply chain. We know that there is a specific supplier that's probably causing most of the issues, and we know that there's a significant revenue risk. So now Clara has unlocked a ton of potential here, and that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg when it comes to using Exasol with the MCP server. There's a ton more that Clara can do, and that world really expands when she starts using skills. So if you're familiar with the AI world, you're probably familiar with the concept of skills. Skills are sort of a complement to an MCP server. So an MCP server allows an AI to talk to a specific tool. Skills give it even deeper knowledge for how to interact with that tool. So in addition to an MCP server, Exasol has also launched an agent skill pack. This is essentially a set of instructions for how an AI can more deeply engage with your Exasol database. It has knowledge about how to write performant and accurate SQL, but it can also do more advanced tasks. Things like writing user-defined functions, interacting with Bucketfs, and even loading and importing data. Now, this skill set is continually growing. You can use this with any of your preferred AI tools. So if you're just doing that ad hoc analytics, that conversational analytics, start with the MCP server. But if you want to go deeper and you want to start building out applications and building out solutions on top of Exasol, then agent skills are where you want to continue that journey. So using these two together is incredibly powerful, and Clara will likely use both of these together as she continues to explore her data more deeply. All right, so we've hit another critical milestone. We've done some rapid exploration with the MCP server, and Clara has identified some really important insights locked inside her data. But she also knows that there's more information to be found, and that information actually lives in unstructured text data. This is a challenge that almost every business faces. There's our dimensional data, there's our categorical data, there's our numerical data, which is very easy to explore and plot and build visualizations. But far too often we have information stuck in unstructured text blobs, in JSON, in PDFs, in a variety of different sources, and it's not very easy to do analytics on top of those. So Clara wants to use AI to extract some insights from this unstructured data. In this particular case, she knows that there's some more information about the root cause of the supply chain issue that's buried in a text field. She wants to be able to get in there quickly and figure out what's going on, but she doesn't want to have to go write a complicated script. She wants something that's going to be easy and scalable. And luckily, Exasol has something for her. So if you're dealing with unstructured data, one of the greatest functions we can offer you at Exasol is native AI functions. And we're releasing a suite of these functions. These basically allow you to leverage the complex and powerful world of AI directly within SQL. So over on the left here, we can see a list of the functions that Clara has access to. Things like classification, things like question answering, things like extracting tokens and keywords, things like translating. All of these AI tasks, these complex, nuanced tasks can now be accessed directly within a SQL statement. It's as simple as that. And so Clara can just write a select statement and go ahead and actually classify or translate or interrogate information directly within a text field. And of course, there are tons of other applications on top of this, but for Clara's use case, this is exactly what she needs. Now, it's important to note that all of these functions run on models within your Exasol database. So you can do this completely within your Exasol environment. And you don't have to connect to any external systems. You don't have to have an API token or anything like that. The goal here is to keep this as easy and flexible as possible. So let's take a look at how Clara can use these native AI functions. She's going to actually go back to her MCP server, because the great thing about these AI functions is if they live in Exasol and you have an MCP server, then your AI will know about them. So since Clara knows this function exists, she's going to tell her AI how to use it. She's going to say to use the AI classify function to explore the item description field. What she's going to ask is, which category do each of these items fit into? So we have a broad list of categories, and we want to categorize them into 5 different types. And so we're going to use that classify function to take kind of a broad open-ended text field and simplify it into 5 distinct categories. Now you can see that the AI is churning through, it's using the context that it has, and it's going to update the visualization with this AI classify function. And remember, all of this is happening with SQL under the hood. So we're using those functions that already exist in Exasol to perform this category analysis. And now we can see very clearly that manufacturing delay is the biggest significant impactor when it comes to the type of supply chain root cause problems here. So we have 5 categories: customs issues, logistics problems, weather disruption, port congestion, but manufacturing delay is leading to almost 72% of these supply chain delays. Now, this is the type of analysis that we wouldn't have been able to do as easily before. We had to use this AI function to classify an open-ended text field into one of these 5 categories. And because we have access to this AI function, we can really quickly get to deeper insight about what's going on with the business. So now we know the supplier, we know the revenue impact, we know the problem, and we know specifically what type of issue is leading to the delay. So this is all information that Clara can package up and share with her team, and they can take action on. And that brings us to Clara's next task. She's built an entire data pipeline from ingestion to exploration. She's enriched her data using custom AI functions to pull insight out of text data. Now she needs a way to share and productize her data pipeline. Because the visualization is one thing, but it's the entire data pipeline underneath that's also important when you share analysis with your broader organization. Clara needs to make sure that her team can trust this data, and they can also do their own analysis on top of it. So even though she's going to share an analysis, she also wants to be able to share the data itself and how she got to the insights that she's going to share. And luckily, Exasol has something that's going to do exactly this job for her. So Claire is going to choose to use her preferred data orchestration tool, dbt. With dbt, she can operationalize the entire data pipeline that she built, all mostly with AI, but she wants to be able to share this with her organization, productize it, and then have other people on her team iterate on it. And so dbt is the perfect combination, the perfect integration for her to use. And Exasol is now available as a trusted dbt connector. So if you're a dbt customer, if you're an Exasol customer, it's as easy as possible to use them together today. And I love this combination. Clara loves this combination. Our users love this combination because using dbt brings this concept of SQL-first workflows that are production ready, as well as native and trusted, to your Exasol platform. dbt also provides some additional ways to interrogate your data pipeline, and all of this is oriented around building trust. And so here you can see once Clara has created this dbt orchestration pipeline, she can easily drill into all of the different components. She can look at her data marts, she can look at all of the models within her database, and she can drill down to the specific data points and data tables themselves. So she shares not only the data pipeline, but this entire summary and view with her team. Again, this is all about building trust, productizing and replicating and then being able to iterate on the data pipeline that Clara has created. I think that brings us pretty much full circle, and so I'm going to hand it back to Florian to close us out here and wrap up Clara's journey.
Yeah, thank you, Madeline. That's super exciting, and we saw a lot of improvements along this journey. We saw the deployment with Exasol Personal. We saw the innovation with the data loading through the native Parquet, which is totally exciting, the Lakehouse Turbo capabilities. And also VS Code extension. Then we talked about MCP and conversational analytics. We had the AI functions to enrich the data, and then surface the data and automate workflows. So I think 26.1 has really made Exasol a key tool for this AI journey. And let's have a closer look and recap what we've seen as part of the release, and also have an outlook of what we can expect for the rest of 2026. So we already talked about the easy data onboarding with adding more sources to Parquet loading, but also more convenience with glog patterns and schema inference. We talked about the trusted dbt connector, and the next step is to get this into dbt cloud as well. We talked on the performance piece with some very specific optimizations. The Lakehouse Turbo story is very exciting because this is not a new product, but an extension of our core functionalities, right? And this doesn't only work on AWS, but also on local on-premise installations, and it also works with Iceberg catalogs. And we saw a first preview of the AI functions with a second iteration coming at the end of the year, and the whole developer experience with Exasol Personal and the extensibility to new platforms, with, I think, the latest edition being Stackit in a bit, and also the possibility for every customer to build their own extension with Terraform. So the remainder of this year, we've got exciting news around data types with a binary type and even more important, a vector type and similarity search. We've got even more performance improvements, especially around varchar join performance. We're going to see a second, even deeper integration of the AI functions. And we're diving deeper into the Lakehouse ecosystem by then also supporting Azure Lakehouses. So this is going to be really exciting, and also extending our connectivity. Last but not least, we're going to have a local installation of what Jürgen already showcased at Exasol Personal. So this also will be the nucleus or the sandbox for everybody to do their own experimentations on the local machine before then they go big and then either go to Exasol Personal or to an enterprise cluster. And we're going to release Kubernetes support. And this is also going to be an endeavor going forward into 2027. With that being said, before we close, I want to hand over to our CPO, Alexander, to bring this specific release into a wider perspective. So handing over to you, Alexander.
There you go. Yes, thank you, Florian, and thank you, team. And I think this is a super exciting release, and I think I will spend a little bit of time just putting into perspective, like why we do this and how it fit into your workflow. Because I think it's all top of mind for everybody now, how to act in this AI world. And there's a reason that we call this an AI innovation platform. And for me, it's all about the data and the velocity, right? Because when you think of AI is really all about data, right? We all try ChatGPT, all these things, but if you just chat with an AI without any data, it's largely meaningless, right? You're just going in circles. For the AI to actually do really, really interesting work, it needs access to your data. And for that, it needs a platform underneath it that actually has the data that gives the kind of concurrency, the access that the agents need. And this is really what this platform gives you and what we enable. And it's super powerful. So it's really important to think of this as one of your personas, and one of your partner now is going to be AI agents. and they need to be able to interact with the database just as well as your human analyst as well can as well. So you want a platform that enables all that. And I think this is what you saw the team going through, that Exasol helps you at every stage in the journey, from deploying in the beginning, where when you deploy with agents, you actually want to be able to sandbox to begin with, right? Because the agents, they will try all kinds of things, and you might not want that in your production workload. And now with Exasol Personal, you can just do a quick local deployment, pull in the data using virtual schemas or direct loading, and you can work in a safe sandbox, running all your experiments, let the agents work without influencing your production workloads at all. And you're allowed to do it. You can do this free. You can just download it, play around with it, do that. You have a single user license, which works perfectly for an agent. So this gives you this ability to do early deployments and sandboxing. And from then on, you can then deploy to the cloud. You can run in all our standard enterprise things. And then you can load from any data source. Well, this is why it comes in, the being able to connect to your Lakehouse, pull data in from Parquet files, connect to, like with Federate, to almost any other data source using our virtual schemas. All this pulls the data into the system, so the agents get one unified data plane for everything, which really, really speeds things up. And then from there, you can build on, you can do your conversations with the conversation analytics. Your agent can talk through the MCP server, which is a huge enabler. This allows you to do this kind of live exploration, what you kind of call conversational analytics today, that really allows you to get a feel and interaction with the data. You can enrich the data, transform it. All this is agent controlled or human controlled. And the key aspect of this, why you need something Exasol, is the moment you also have agents, you need a super high level of concurrency, which is really what we give you, which is one of the unique aspects where you really leverage the performance benefits of Exasol. If you have agents, all of you, those of you who have tried, you'll see they will spin up multiple simultaneous connections. They will try all kinds of things. You want then a database that is capable of handling this. And this is really what you get here. And then in the end, you want to be able to surface this nice with any BI tool you want, or build out custom dashboards, custom apps. And you want this full journey somebody takes into you. And this is what it means to be an innovation platform. We help you innovate, right? Because we are all working now, how do we adapt to this? AI is changing everything. And we want to be the ones that help you to move forward, to move fast. So I mean, I'm super excited about this release. It has all the main components you need. So play with it. We love to get your feedback. Tell us what else you need to make this into a platform that really takes you to the next step in AI. So with that, I will say thank you, and I will hand over to Ian again to wrap up.
Great, thanks, Alex. Well, look, thanks everybody for all the time. Thanks to the Exasol team. As Alex said, one thing which is hugely important to us is for you to join the discussion, learn with us, and we're keen to learn from you. So, hopefully through today, you've seen why Exasol see release 26.1 as such an important milestone in Exasol's innovation journey. The team have brought some real value features to life as to what it can actually do. But please join with us in the discussion. Follow the QR codes as you can see on this slide. Download it, try it today if you're not already a user of Exasol. Some of the tools that Madeline was bringing to life there and the rest of the team, you can see how you can start experimenting with this today. And with Exasol Personal, do that for free if you're not already using the product. Also, as you can see here, we're keen to bring these sort of webinars as a continuous stream. So the next one's later in May again. If you're interested in that, as we hope you are, please follow the QR code and register. And with that, I'll end there and just thank you again for your time today. And we look forward to hearing from you in the near future. Have a good day. Take care.